would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, the Gundungurra land and people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which you, our listeners, are joining us from today. I recognise the deep connection that First Nations people have to this land, their enduring culture, and their commitment to the preservation and care for their country. This land was never ceded, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hey there, and welcome to Beyond the Surface, the podcast where we explore the stories of people who have survived religious trauma, left high control or cult communities, and are deconstructing their faith. I'm your host, Sam, and each week I'll talk with individuals who have taken the brave step to start shifting their beliefs that might have once controlled and defined their lives. Join us as we dig into their experiences, the challenges they've faced, and the insights they've gained. Whether you're on a similar journey or you're just curious about these powerful stories, you're in the right place. This is Beyond the Surface. Welcome, Kimberly. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Sam. What a pleasure.
I'm so excited for this conversation. If people are not aware, you are over on Instagram as the Exvangelical parent. Is that right? Yes.
Yes, I
And
sure am.
you discuss everything spirituality, ethics, morality, all of those, messy intersections, post
Very messy.
evangelicalism, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I sure do.
Fun. I mean, there's nothing clean or clear cut about any of those topics. So I love that. Love it.
Yes, we exist in the gray area.
Yeah, I love the
In between.
grey. I make so many jokes about 50 Shades of Grey. Oh, and then I
It makes
remember,
sense. Oh, it fits. It fits with this journey.
yeah, and then I remember actually looking it up at one point, and I think that there is a vast amount more than 50. So it kind of loses its flavor, but um, I love I love looking at everything that exists outside the black and white. So, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what I love about this podcast, because everybody's episode and everybody's story is so different.
Mhm.
So where does your story start?
Ooh, big question. Um,
I start with
so
the
yes,
questions.
that's wonderful. That's fantastic. So, I was raised in a very evangelical, conservative Christian home. My parents are wonderful people who were choosing the best path they could for all of us kids at the time.
Mm,
I was born in the mid 80s, so I came of age very much in the peak of satanic panic in the United States and purity culture. And it was a very unique time of evangelicism that was particularly problematic in my opinion. I was reading the Left Behind books and like Piercing the Darkness and things like that when I was like 10 years old.
oh,
And I was already a very anxious, sensitive kid.
mm,
So things like that were not great
yeah,
I mean, they're probably not great for any child, but they were particularly not great for me.
yeah.
Um, I went I started out in public school, and then I went to a private Christian school for just a year. It was short, but it was very, unfortunately, not great. I have a vivid memory of my being in my first grade classroom. So I'm maybe 7 years
Mm,
old, 6 or 7. And my teacher, who was a very sweet lady, showing all of us kids these artistic renderings of people burning in hell. And like, I know. And like there were the worms eating their flesh.
oh my
And, you know,
goodness.
right. And so being told at that very, very young age that um, this is what's going to happen, if you're not right with Jesus. And once again, anxious kid, and always thought I had to pray the prayer of salvation over and over and over again to make sure it stuck. At the time, I didn't know I had OCD. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and that can really particularly negatively affect religious children, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But of course, I didn't know that at the time. So I stopped going to that school. I'm not really sure why. That'd be a great question to ask my parents. Why did we stop going? But then we started homeschooling. So we were homeschooled, and that was better than it sounds. It was better because I was a neurodivergent kid. I was a big reader. I was an introvert. So it really suited my personality to be homeschooled. I could hyperfixate on my favorite interests, and we were in a homeschool group, a very, very, very Christian homeschool group. But we had group classes, and we had prom when you got to high school, and we had graduation, and those things were lovely and good. But we went to churches that would be considered like Southern Baptist evangelical churches. I live in the United States, and I grew up in Florida, which is becoming a more problematic place by the day.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Glad to not be living there.
I mean,
anymore.
like every time I love talking to the Americans on this podcast, but every time I talk to them, it like fuels and feeds the narrative that the US is a bit of a shit show. Like that's it's the only language I have for it.
I wish it wasn't, but unfortunately that is the case. And we are entering another insane election year. And I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it, Sam. I'm not. And we were politically conservative growing up. My parents were Republicans and always voted. We were very, very pro-life. That was a very big thing in my family growing up. And when you're a little child, going to things like walks for life for crisis pregnancy centers and things, it seems so innocent. And it seems so like, why wouldn't anyone want to save a baby? Why wouldn't anyone want to save? Like, of course, we all want children to be safe, of course. So it took me, I thought I was just doing the most important volunteer work in the world as a child with these places. And I thought I was going to be in ministry forever. I thought I was going to, I wanted to be in ministry. I was in youth group, of course, every time the doors were open. I did artistic ministry teams. We would do very cringy skits and dance numbers and things like that and travel around. I know. And video probably exists, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Bless my sweet little heart. So I was very, very passionate. I remember being in elementary school and like evangelizing to children on the playground. Because I was taught that was the most important thing. How could you possibly let your friends go to hell? And hell is the scariest thing you could ever imagine. So it was very much marked by fear for me as a kid. I was very, very afraid all the time. But then it was balanced with really liking the community that came, with being a part of something, as humans, we love that. The belonging. Yeah. And the friendships and relationships, and that was always really important to me as a child, and that's kind of how they get you.
The love bombing.
The love bombing, yes. Which I found out later, not a lot of those people stick around when you change your mind. So I was a very fearful child. I went undiagnosed with anxiety and depression and OCD for a very long time, until when I was 16 or so, and I was starting to have suicidal thoughts because of my very untreated mental illness. And that's when I finally went to therapy for the first time, which was wonderful. I actually got some diagnosis.
And probably very rebellious, I would think.
Actually, my family They were okay with it.
Okay.
They were like,
Right.
okay. Now, nobody offered me medication
Yeah.
at that time. I was not medicated until I was almost 30. And I was like, how have I been living my life
Mm.
until this point? Like, it was like night and day, the
Yeah.
difference in my brain chemistry. So I wish I would have done that sooner.
Mm.
I really do.
Mm.
But I just didn't know. So, but I was a high achieving kid. I always got, firstborn daughter, perfectionist, always wanted to take care of everyone, save the world. And I thought, well, ministry, of course, that's what I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working at a crisis pregnancy center as soon as I graduated high school. I worked there through college. I was in that kind of ministry for almost a decade.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a long time. And that's when the cracks started to show for
Mm.
me. That was the main thing that really started to make me ask a lot more questions, and questions were not appreciated in the
Mm.
ministries that I was in.
Yeah.
Of course, I thought at the time, okay, we're saving babies and we're helping kids. So I worked in the youth programs. That was my primary thing. I taught sex ed, which was a hoot,
Mm-hmm.
and totally abstinence focused,
I was
100%,
about to
because
say,
that's
what sort of sex ed are we actually talking about?
right, exactly. Now we were trained, like we were trained by health departments. We did give like accurate information on sexually transmitted infections and things like that. But the be all end all had to be abstinence, period. It was like, you just don't do it. You just
Mm-hmm.
don't do it. Um, and as a young person who was being abstinent because purity culture was a big deal, I was like, this is great. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It's fine. I started teaching these things when I was like 18, which is hilarious. No experience in the world, nothing at all.
Yeah.
But I started to see over the years that it was so much more complicated than I thought, especially uh, the pro-life aspect of the whole thing. It was so much more complex.
Mm.
Everybody's story was so unique, and we were taught when we were speaking to women, um, you always had to present the gospel when you were having a counseling session. We're not counselors, we're just people.
Mm.
um while we're like offering a pregnancy test and like trying to be helpful. And to be perfectly fair, there were lovely resources that were offered. We did like we worked with WIC, which is our women, infants, and children assistance program. We would get people enrolled for Medicaid. We would get people plugged in with providers. If they wanted to carry their pregnancy, we could give them some actual assistance, which is cool. But you had to present the gospel. It was required, and that never sat right with me, because you're dealing with people in often very emotional situations who
Mm.
are scared and don't have resources, and like you can't just like lay that on somebody
Mm.
when they need help. Like that's just not it just didn't seem right. So I very often broke those rules.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought is like that's when it's brought out though. Like that's when it is, because the people who the people who are drawn are those who are at their most vulnerable. They're the target audience.
Right now, in hindsight, it's like, oh, this was by design.
Yeah.
This was absolutely by design. They if you get someone when they're vulnerable and emotional, they're going to jump in. And we had to record those things like data, like numbers. How many salvations did you get this month? Like
Oh.
that was we had to report those things to a board of directors. And saying it now, it sounds so absolutely bonkers, because it is. But at the time, I was the frog in the pot with the water slowly warming. It was the pot I was born in. I didn't know. But situations would come up. I had a girl come to see me for a pregnancy test, and she was 11.
Oh
She was
my.
11 and she was pregnant. And her parents were like not even wanting to would not let her consider abortion, adoption, anything. They were like, you're going to carry this baby, you're going to keep this baby. And this was a child. And I just remember when she left, I just went in my office and I closed my door and I sobbed. I was like, this child needs so much more than we can possibly offer her in her situation. And carrying this pregnancy to term is not going to fix this problem. Like, and then the worst thing was she came back 3 years later and she was pregnant again.
Oh gosh.
And we failed her. We failed her. And situations like that would come up that were incredibly complex. And in my mind, I was like, wait, hold on. This can't be the one size fits all approach. We also weren't allowed to suggest birth control to people as like a reasonable thing to do, to like grown women who have children who are in relationships.
Birth control is playing God, right?
And you just shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be doing it. Quit it. Like that's how some of my we're in the South. Quit it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it is like, as we talk about it, I go like, it's absolutely bonkers. But when you're in it, you rationalize it and you make, like, I mean, it's like KPIs for Jesus. Like that concept is insane, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. And so in my own life, even when I was incredibly conservative, I was never okay with the way the church treated the LGBTQ community. It always made me sick. I was like, this can't be right. Because the thing that kept pulling me back with every question was like, I really do like the teachings of Jesus. I do. I couldn't get past. I was like, well, what about the love and the acceptance and the uplifting of marginalized communities and the uplifting of women and the people that nobody, like, those are all such rebelling against the state. Like, those are all wonderful things. And so I would keep coming back to that. Like, I was willing to like look the other way on all of the garbage because I was like, but I still like this part of it. Still like this part of it. I could be like a cool Christian. I could be like, not like a normal Christian. I'm a cool Christian.
Yeah, the progressive cool version. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I could just do that. Like, that would be fine. And in my job, we were not allowed to affirm our LGBTQ students. And so at some points I had hundreds of kids under my after school program. And there were some lovely things about it. It gave kids a safe place to go after school. There were some really lovely mentors who could be a part of their lives. And we did talk about a lot of things that did matter, like healthy relationships and self-worth and understanding your value and learning how to set boundaries and consent. And all of those things were really positive. But we always had to put the gospel into it. Always. It was required. But because I kind of had my own program and I wasn't supervised a lot of the time, I did affirm all of my LGBTQ students.
We love that.
I had a sweet, precious little middle schooler who came to me crying one day and said, am I going to hell because I like girls? And I just looked her in the eyes and I held her shoulders and said, absolutely not. You are not. Jesus loves you exactly the way you are. Like, it just tore my heart out that she felt that way. So I was able to kind of exist under the radar in that way for a while, where I could, still be working for this organization, but still teaching things that I was more comfortable with to my kids. And then in my own life,
rebellious.
I was being very rebellious. Which I'm still learning how to do because I'm a peacemaker and I don't like conflict. And in my own life at the same time, my little brother came out to my parents and he was only 14 at the time. And my parents lost their minds. They were so angry. They were so furious. It was a huge, upheaval for the family. And I was pregnant at the time, so I was already like emotional and tired. But I was kind of running point between my mom and my little brother. And I was like, listen, Mom, your child did not just come to you and say that they're addicted to heroin. They said that they're gay. You need to calm down. Like, you need to calm down. And we told my brother, like, listen, we're here for you. We love you. You can come live with us if you need to. Whatever you need, we're here. We've got you. And it took my parents a while. It took them a while, but I was constantly sending them podcasts and reading material and articles about all of these gay affirming Christians and all of these people, like, hey, you can still have these beliefs if you want, but you can still like affirm your kid. And that was my little brother. Both of my brothers were very, very close. I adore them. And I mama bared out. I was like, this is not happening. Like, unacceptable. You can't just reject your kid because they're gay. And like I said, he was 14. He was a kid. He's just a child at the time. So this was happening as I was being sneaky at work. And over the course of about, it took over a year. But in the end, my parents now, today, are fully affirming.
Yay, go mom and dad.
Yes, it is. It's so encouraging to me because, they're in their 60s and they grew up very conservative, and they have changed their view on, they changed their political party. They changed how they voted. I know, like, to see people be willing to, you can be older and you can say, listen, I was not right. I'm going to change. Now they're fully supportive. And it's been beautiful to see, but it took a minute.
It reminds me of, it reminds me of Maya Angelou's quote, when we know better, we do better. And if we give, we give people the opportunity, they do have the ability and the capability to change if there is willingness and openness. That is so encouraging. Go mom and dad.
I know. And now we're all very close still. And it's wonderful. In fact, my brother not super recently, but he now lives in my city, in Asheville, North Carolina, with his partner. So I'm so happy to have family in town. It's just wonderful. So we're in the American South, but Asheville we call it a blueberry. It's a bubble of hippies and progressives and tucked away in the Appalachian Mountains. So it's a very cool place to be. It's very accepting and open, and it's beautiful. But shortly after my child was born, I got called into my boss's office to say, hey, we noticed in your training materials, because I had about a team of about 20 volunteers under me for the youth program, that you're including some resources that could be considered affirming. Because I had these training materials say, hey, this is how you, for this 40-year-old Southern white woman, here's how you relate to your LGBTQ students, because if you can't relate to them, you can't connect with them. And they said, you can't do that. You can't have that information even available in your materials. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. So that they were on to me at that point. And that boss at the time was even like, I know you, like, I saw that you went to the Women's March. And that's fine. He's like, that's fine, but people might have some thoughts about that. I'm like, well, I don't
fine,
really
but
care.
it's not fine.
But I'm bringing it up to you in this meeting we're having right now.
I mean, for the record, for anybody listening, if someone says it's fine, but it's clearly not fine.
It's definitely not. So that was like, okay, it's time. It's time to go. It's time to go. Because I loved my kids, I loved my students, and I wanted to help them in every way I could. But I knew this was no longer the place that I could do it. So I stepped down when my child was about 2 years old. So I guess that was about 6 years ago. I quit before they could fire me.
I love that, taking the control
out of there.
I'm curious what all of that the impact that that had on your own relationship with God?
It was really hard. It was
Yeah.
really, really hard. At the time, we were also like attending a mega church,
Oh, yeah.
which was very, that's a whole other conversation. Mega churches in the American South. But we had a
We're
lovely
no
community of
better.
friends.
We're the birthplace of Hillsong. We're no better.
Oh, yeah, yeah. we all have our
Have our faults.
we all have our things. But and we had a lovely community of friends there, and people we really cared about. The small group was really the thing that was great. And there are people that there's some people there that we were still friends with today, although a lot of them have gone on a similar journey, which is interesting. Over those last few years. So, and then I started to see the same things happen, because mega churches in America, and it might be like this in Australia too, they really like to have the veneer of being progressive. They like to be like, we're cool, we're fun, we're not like those old churches that you grew up in. Like, it's not the same thing. We have a sound system.
Yeah,
We have talented people.
It makes me think of that scene in Mean Girls where she's like, I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. Like, I'm not a regular church, I'm a cool church.
I'm a cool church. You can drink coffee in here.
Yeah.
Our music is great.
We go out and have beer and wine and yeah.
And there were things that once again, it's all complicated. It's all shades of gray. I remember our pastor at the time once did an incredible sermon against racism that just made the entire church just, you could have heard a pin drop in that auditorium. And I was just like, hell yeah, this is great, to hear this in the South. It's beautiful. But to become a member of the church, it was a big deal to be a member. It was a big deal. And the way you did it was almost militant. And it was, you go to like a session where someone interviews you about your salvation experience. And if they give you the thumbs up that like was good enough, then you get sent to the next block of people where you get immediately signed up for what team you're going to serve on, because you're going to volunteer, of course, which is a big commitment with this big mega church. Then you go to the team that gets you in your small group. Then you go to set up your automatic tithe.
Oh, wow.
It was all in one. I remember, because I grew up in kind of little churches, and I remember just being like, what? This is interesting. Like, they would take down your credit card information so that they could go ahead and start auto drafting that tithe every month. And that just kind of felt weird. Didn't feel great. And one of the things they would do on Sundays was make these really beautiful, highly produced interview videos of church members who had gone through like some kind of life-changing experience, with just the right music and key changes.
I knew exactly what you were going to say before you even said it, because I was like,
yeah,
the church loves a redemption story. Like,
I
mean, that's why people who are in a vulnerable situation are the target audience, right? Because that we can create, that's a story. Like, the broken down, the homeless, the addicted, the whatever it is, we can flip that script.
Yep. They don't put up the stories of the person who was just, I was doing okay. And then I said, Jesus is cool.
Yeah.
That doesn't get the highly produced treatment. But one of the stories was of a gay woman in the church who had been in a long-term committed relationship. And basically, they tried to spin it like, this is so amazing. But this poor, precious woman was like, yeah, I knew that I had to leave the love of my life. And I knew I had to be celibate forever. And so I could be part of this community with Jesus. And I was just, it was like a slow motion moment of me like moving out of frame. Like, what? Like, this is something we're celebrating here, that this person who was in this loving, committed relationship felt they had to leave that so they could be a part of this, because you couldn't be a member if you were gay. You couldn't serve if you were gay. Everyone's welcome, part of anything, unless you fit into this box. I was like, no, this is not a triumph. My heart broke for this woman. I was like, this is devastating. And what I kept coming back to is like, how could Jesus, who's all about love, be against love? How? Like, I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, if something is bearing good fruit, as we like to talk about in the church, everything's about fruit. If a relationship, if a person is bringing out the love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, how could that possibly be wrong? And that's what I kept saying. And I would be like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And then having my own child really pushed me over the edge. Because it's like, this, no matter who my child turns out to be, I'm never going to reject them. Period. Nothing could make me reject this beautiful little creature. And so we kind of we left with a fade rather than a bang.
Slow fade.
From the church. We just slow fade. And we like kept going to our small group even when we didn't go to our church, because we just like liked our friends and things like that. And then questions were like, hey, what'd you think about service on Sunday? It'd be like, yeah, it was great. It's terrific. Because you could disappear. You know, it was a massive church. Like, you're like, yeah, I went to you guys all went to the 9 a.m. We went to the 5 p.m. You know, that's why we didn't see that's why we didn't see you there. But we slowly realized that we didn't fit anymore. And a big moment for me was after the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. I wrote an article that went a little it got picked up by the Huffington Post and a bunch of other outlets, that was titled "Jesus Would Have Hung out at Gay Bars."
Yeah, he would.
And yeah, he would have. And I was still pretty in it at the time. Like, I still called myself a Christian, but I was, the cool Christian. And the amount of hate I got from people who I thought really loved me, extended family, friends, my home church's pastor's wife, who, like, they were the ones who gave me and my husband premarital counseling when we were wee little babies, and I thought they really loved us and mentored us. She was actually my boss at the first crisis pregnancy center I worked at in Florida, and she made sure to send me a message to say, I'm so glad you don't work for me anymore, because I would have fired you on the spot. And I realized that these people who said they loved me and really cared, it was very conditional. And I know it's naive to not notice that yet, but when I did, I was like, I don't know where I fit here anymore. And being a person who had pretty much based my whole identity on who I was, in Christ, I didn't know where to go from there. It was very unmooring, especially being a new parent, which is already just a bananas time. And I'm very grateful that my spouse and I deconstructed about the same time. We were on our own journeys, but they kind of all went together. And I'm so grateful for that, because we were both raised in a very similar environment. We got married when we were 20.
As Christians do.
As Christians do. We'd known each other 4 months when we got engaged at 19. It could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
It really could have. But we deconstructed at a similar rate for a whole variety of reasons. And we're very much on the same page now, which is beautiful. We got very lucky in that regard. People be like, oh my gosh, you've already been married 18 years? That's crazy. I'm like, yeah, we don't recommend that. Like, we don't, like, how beautiful.
Not the wisest decision.
Yeah, I was like, no, we wouldn't say anyone else should do that ever. They're like, oh, you just knew you were so in love. We
Yeah.
got really lucky. We got really lucky that we grew in the same direction and we were willing to make those changes together as a family.
Yeah.
It didn't have to go that way at all. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. And now we find ourselves just that's why I started the Exvangelical Parent, because I was like, I was taught the only way you teach your kid to not be a serial killer is to teach them the Bible. That's how you do it. And I remember having friends, like people I thought were lovely people, say, oh, if it just wasn't for Jesus, I would be so evil. I would be so wicked. And I remember being taken aback, being like, I don't think I would. Like, I think I would still be the same person.
It's crazy to people who are not a part of that lifestyle or that faith system to think that like morality is so inextricably tied to God, and that the two are like cannot be mutually exclusive. Like, and it's like, well, no, like not having Jesus doesn't make me a murderer automatically.
And if it does, that's a whole other
I mean,
situation.
my wife would probably have something to say about that, because I am a Slytherin, if people know Harry Potter. So I
My child
mean,
identifies as a
anything
Slytherin,
could happen. Anything could happen with that. But
my kid likes to say they're a good Slytherin.
yeah, I mean, Draco turned out all right. Like, he made some questionable decisions along the way, but he was young.
But haven't we all? You know,
exactly.
They're teenagers. Gosh.
Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness.
So I launched the community because I felt like I didn't know. Like, I was like, I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah.
How do we do this? And it was lovely to get a group of other people who were kind of on some very different stories, all of us, very different journeys, but to be in the same place. And a lot of people wrote wonderful articles for our website, theexvangelicalparent.com. We have a pile of resources from a variety of viewpoints, which is just wonderful. And that was so encouraging to me, because I realized, oh, wait, this whole exvangelical, like we're a thing. And we all seem to be kind of close to the same age too. Like, we came up around the same moment, that unique moment of evangelicism and purity culture. And we're trying to do something different with our own families. And it's been so encouraging to know that community still exists outside of the structure of the church. And that's not what has to define us. At all. And I find I'm still, when I talk about it, it feels like it was another life, but it really wasn't that long ago. And there's still things I'm grieving the loss of, and there are still things it's like, as a therapist, I'm sure things just pop up that you haven't considered.
I have a good friend who has the best analogy, which is it's a little bit like the whack-a-mole game.
Oh my gosh, that's
just
the perfect description.
Yeah, isn't it? She's also a religious trauma therapist, so we like have the same mindset. But yeah, it's the best analogy, because you might have nothing for a little while and then just bam, something.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Absolutely.
Or something's really triggering.
Yeah.
And it's like every moment a surprise. And I'll tell my spouse that. I'll be like, hey, listen, I had a song came on the radio, or had this conversation with this person, and suddenly it was like I was back there. I was in it. I can't even at this moment, I can't even go inside churches.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even like historical ones. Like, we were thrilled to be able to go to Italy last year, and I was like, I don't want to visit any cathedral. I have no interest. It's just like, yes, they're beautiful and they're full of art and they're wonderful, but
Yeah.
I'm good.
We,
good.
my wife and I went to Italy as part of our honeymoon, and
Oh, how lovely.
we visited the Vatican, and we went.
How was that?
Yeah, I mean, we were still in a weird place at this point with our deconstruction and
Huh.
faith. We had just gotten married in a church, and it was a
Oh,
whole.
wow.
So like I'm the same now in terms of like I wouldn't be able to go into a church now. But even still, you are walking around and you're looking at this beautiful architecture. But as a queer couple, we both couldn't help but feel the heaviness and the weight of just our presence walking around that building. And it was just this weird, it was just weird. I don't quite know how to explain it. But yeah, I mean, the building is stunning, like, and the
Of
Sistine
course.
Chapel is incredible. But I think when you have religious trauma or you've been brought up in a high control space, you can't help but look at those places and see that they are more than a building.
They're more than a building.
Mm.
Absolutely. I feel the heaviness of the people who've been oppressed in those spaces.
Yeah.
I think is part of it. And it's interesting because I'm sure there are similar. I know no religion is perfect, but we were just in Japan this past fall, and I didn't feel that same way with the temples and the beautiful sacred spaces there. I don't know what that means, but for me, it was like, okay, this is cool. Like, this is cool that this is sacred and beautiful, but it's not personally attached to any trauma for myself.
Yeah.
It was an interesting contrast to see the
Yeah.
difference. But also another experience there, I didn't realize how I'm an artist. I love art. I studied art in college, so I wanted to go to all the museums when we were in Italy, of course. But I hadn't thought about, like, I was raised on the graphic imagery of crucifixion and all of the Bible is a gory book.
Oh yeah.
And it is very unsettling. And as you know, most Renaissance art is weird stuff from the Bible. And I hadn't considered how my child had not been raised with all of that. And my kids walking around one of the most, famous, beautiful museums in the world and going,
What the
I
heck is
think I need to
this?
go. Yeah, I need to go. And I'm hit like a ton of bricks, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It didn't even compute because it was so normal for me to see, like a million paintings of someone being executed in a bloody and horrible way because that was just what we did. Like, yeah, this is awful. We should go.
I
I'm
mean,
so sorry.
and I mean, it's really ironic because we are recording this like the week after Easter. And I remember seeing a post that you made about how, let's maybe not do Easter the way that, let's not teach our kids that they're the reason for an ancient execution, I think was your term. And I was like, thank you. Like, let's maybe not instill that. Like, let's not tell children that they're the reason someone was murdered. Like, I mean, no one should hear that, let alone children.
And I was taught that from such a young age.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
I heard, like, when you said that you were reading
4?
Left Behind at like 10 or something, and I'm thinking, and yet we have an issue with Harry Potter and Pokemon. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
I actually was lovingly making fun of my mother for this recently because my mom just watched all the Harry Potter movies for the first time. And she's like, they were so good. She's like, why was I worried about that? I'm like, I don't know, Mom. Why were you worried about that?
I mean,
What was your
just
deal?
like, just don't let Mum research the author of them because she's awful.
I know, gosh. It's
but
like the moment I felt free to read Harry Potter, it became
I know.
problematic. I'm like, okay, fine. Uh,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was hilarious to see. She's like,
Oh,
these are great stories. They're about like friendship and good versus evil. I'm like, yeah, they are, Mom. They are.
absolutely.
It's
I'm
fine. But I could read
curious.
Piercing the Darkness,
Yeah.
where demons were latched into people's brains,
Yeah, I'm being raptured.
literally, not figuratively,
Like,
literally.
oh.
Um,
I'm curious how, like, where your sense of spirituality is now amongst all of
I'm
that
figuring it
grief
out.
and everything.
I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever call myself an atheist because I feel like
Mm,
that assumes I know more than I do. The
mm,
universe is vast. I don't know anything. I'm just a little person.
yeah.
And honestly, I think I would really like it if there was some kind of benevolent and loving higher power. I'm still working through the grief of that, of the loss of certainty,
Mm,
just knowing that I don't know is
yeah.
tough.
Mm,
So right now I find most of my spiritual peace comes from just being in nature.
mm,
I live in a beautiful place surrounded by mountains, and I hike every single day. I'm out in the woods every day. I love to forage and explore. I've just started just this year a tiny flower farm on our tiny
mm,
sliver of land. So I'm always out in the dirt, and that has become the most spiritual thing I've ever experienced, is just
yeah.
being connected with the seasons and the gifts that the earth gives us and how lovely that is. Like right now it's spring here, which is really gorgeous, and if I step outside right now I can gather 5 or 6 wild foods that I could just eat immediately from my backyard. And it's
Mm,
so lovely to me that the earth does that in the
mm,
spring, that you can just, here you go. It's been a long winter. Have all of these lovely fresh greens. They're free.
mm,
They are for everyone. Um, and tuning into that for the first time in my life has been a really beautiful experience.
mm,
Um, and just having human connection,
yeah.
um, that doesn't have to be based on anything other than human connection
Yeah.
has been really beautiful.
I love that.
Uh, it's, but there's moments like Easter hit me harder than I thought it would this
Same.
past
There
year.
was something
We
about
had no
Easter
plans
this
this
year.
year. Okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah,
It's not just me.
no.
We didn't have any plans. We did that on purpose. We wanted to just have a really like low key time
Mm,
as a family. Um, but I was still just hit by an unexpected sadness.
mm,
Uh, and I find it happen like I get very melancholy around Christmas too,
yeah.
which bums me out because
Mm,
Christmas is supposed to be really joyful and fun, and I want it to be magical for my kid,
yeah.
but also not religious. It's interesting. I haven't talked to my child's 8, so I haven't like laid my religious trauma on them. They know I used to go to church,
Yeah.
and then I don't anymore. Like, but we had a conversation just this week, because we passed a church on our way home from school, and they had a cross out front with the drape on it. There was a big thing for Holy Week to have,
Hmm.
and we still live in the South. There's church. You can't swing a cat without hitting a church. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And my child said, "Oh yeah, that cross. That's where they killed Jesus like 40 times." I was like, "What?" I was like, "I have questions." Okay. I think in the story it was just once, and my kid was like, "Oh, it wasn't like they killed him, he came back, and he killed him, and they came back, and he killed him, and he came back." I'm like, "Who are you talking to about this?" Like, interesting. Okay. It's like, no, I think in the story it was just like once, and then they came back to life in the story, and it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, 40 times is
And
probably way more interesting and way more impressive, to be
right,
fair.
40 resurrections. That's
Yeah,
a
that's
journey.
like,
I don't know where that.
surely.
Yeah, that I'm interested.
Mm,
I want to know more about that.
absolutely.
But that sparked a car conversation. And where a lot of good conversations happen with your kids
Mm.
when you're driving. And I told them a little bit about the thing that happened with that article I wrote, and how because we're a queer family. My child's non-binary.
Mm.
My spouse and I no longer identify as straight people. Like, we were just never given the freedom to figure that out
Mhm.
as young people. So I just kind of gave a very, like, as appropriate as I could version of how I said some things supporting the LGBT community, and then a lot of my friends left me, essentially. And that was one of the reasons I don't go to church anymore. And my dear sensitive child just started sobbing in the back seat, just crying, and was like, said, I would never not accept you, Mama. I would never not accept you, no matter what. And I said, oh, baby, I will always accept you, and I will always support you, no matter what, always.
Yeah.
And then they got full of rage and said, why do Grandma and Grandpa go to a church then? And I said, well, actually, Grandma and Grandpa, they go to a fully gay affirming church now, that does a lot of good things in their community. And there are churches that are like that. And I think there are churches that do good things, but I wasn't a part of them. I wasn't in those churches growing up. And so that's why I don't go anymore. And it was a whole moment we had. And I was just so grateful that my kid has not been a part of any of it. Has been spared all of it. And that we go, we live in a place with very wonderful, accepting public schools, and my child has been fully affirmed by their teachers and their classmates, and that inclusion is really, really important here. And I'm so grateful. Before this, we lived in South Carolina, which is a very, very conservative place that teaches very scary things in the schools. And of course, Florida, not a great place to be if you are a queer person in any way. So I'm very, very thankful we are where we're at, emotionally and geographically, for this stage in our lives. Yeah, sorry, that was rambling. That was a
No,
lot.
I love that.
A lot one.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a real testament that their reaction was what it was, in terms of, I think it is good parenting to not lay your religious trauma on them. I think that that's kind of what you're
Right.
supposed to do.
Like, we'll talk about those things as it's
Yeah.
appropriate.
I mean, I think their reaction probably suggests that what they do know has been, authentic and real, but also age appropriate. And I think that that's, my therapist hat on says, I think that that's how it's supposed to be. Children can hold a lot more than we give them credit for, but it still needs to be age appropriate.
Yeah, they're still children.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
And children deserve to play and have fun and have joyous time, and not be so worried about eternal torture or damnation, or coming home from school and their parents not being there because the rapture has happened. Like, children
I
deserve
legit thought that as a
love.
child once.
Yeah.
Maybe more than once. Like,
Oh,
waking up from a nap and my parents weren't in the house, and I'd be like, it happened.
yeah.
It happened. I
I
have
mean,
been left behind.
no wonder we
Yes.
have people who have nightmares about it, because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And it,
I did. I had
oh,
nightmares all the time as a child
yeah.
about the rapture, about the tribulation, about hell, all of it.
Mm.
It I probably had just the wrong mental state to be a conservative church kid, being very anxious and very
Yeah.
sensitive and very
Yeah, it's not the
OCD.
best combination.
It's not ideal. No, I mean, I try to say, I feel like some people can thrive
Mm.
in faith communities. My sister-in-law, their whole family is from Greece, and they go to the Greek Orthodox Church, and they have it. They have such a refreshing way of holding things more loosely
Yeah.
than I ever did. Like, one of the members of the family was telling her kid, who's close in age to mine, like, we go to church for community, mindfulness, and connection, not because there's a sky daddy who's going to punish us for something.
Mm.
And I was like, what a concept! What a lovely thing.
Who knew?
So I guess healthy religion exists.
Mm.
I just haven't personally experienced it
Yeah.
in my own life.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I'll fall
Mm.
in the end. I think maybe landing somewhere is not the point.
Mm. I think from everything, I mean, of my own experience, but also just like navigating it with like friends and clients, that I think the biggest part of deconstruction or healing from religious trauma is actually just the permission to say, I have no idea, and for that to be okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And when you're taught your whole life that certainty
Yeah.
or a lack of certainty is a lack of faith,
Mm.
and how that's a real problem. It's easier said than done. It
Mm-hmm.
really is to like get comfortable with the not knowing, just being
Yeah,
comfortable with not knowing and being comfortable in the gray area.
absolutely.
That's such a big part of the journey.
Mm.
It's just and then I have a lot of grief over harm that I could have caused
Yeah.
in my quote unquote ministry life.
Mm.
And I know that my intentions were always good, but
Mm.
that doesn't mean that I didn't do harm.
Yeah.
um and that breaks my heart. I
Mm.
hate that. But as you said earlier, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah,
And you can only change your behavior going forward.
absolutely.
I can only hope that the good things maybe outweigh the
I mean, you've
because
still
I
got a
did
lot
know
of
the things
life
that didn't.
to live and a lot of, anti-harm and a lot of advocacy and a lot of, stuff that you can do. And you are raising another generation, and, that in itself is a whole ordeal. So, um, okay. I've been finishing these episodes by asking everybody, what would you say to someone who is deep in their deconstruction? But I want to specifically ask you to speak to the parents who are navigating deconstruction. What would you say to them?
Oh, well, first I would ask if they want a big hug.
Mm.
Like, do you need a minute? Do you need
Yeah.
And I would acknowledge that it is so hard. It
Mm.
is so hard, but that they are doing the most valuable work by dealing with their own trauma and not just mindlessly passing it on to their children. Like, that is work that is going to echo through generations, because we
Yeah.
can say that this trauma stops here. This isn't going any further. I'm not passing this down to my children. And I would encourage them that it is going to be okay, but that it's not going to be easy.
Mm.
There's going to be grief. There's going to be sadness. There's going to be anger. I feel like things were stolen from me, like parts of my growth and development and humanity. And that grief is very real.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to continue. And what you're doing, as hard as it is worthwhile.
Mm.
Because dealing with any kind of trauma is like cleaning a wound. It's going to get grosser and more painful before it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to lean into that process and know that, and the discomfort, like, yeah, this is going to hurt. It's going to suck. It's going to be really unpleasant. But it's worth it
Yeah.
for you, for your children, for every generation to come. To be a cycle breaker is no small thing.
Mm.
And it's worth all the work
Yeah,
that we're going to put into it.
absolutely. I love that. Growth demands pain, but it doesn't mean that it won't be worth it. So,
Yeah,
mm,
I wish it didn't, but
I know.
it'd be great
I
if it didn't.
know.
But
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This has been wonderful, and I love the work that you are doing. I think deconstruction is hard, navigating it, trying to sort of sort through what you believe, what you think, teaching yourself new things is hard enough as it is. To be navigating that and teaching another generation is an extra layer. So I love that there are people in this space who are speaking particularly to deconstructing parents, because it's unique.
Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me. This
Yeah.
has really been a pleasure. It was lovely talking with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Surface. I hope you found today's conversation as insightful and inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from these stories. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more content. I love connecting with all of you. Remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you're not alone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep moving forward. Take care.